In this video, I will show you how to create tables and graphs in SPSS. Let's start with our Introduction to SPSS dataset. In this dataset, the first thing that we want to explore is to see what types of variables do we have. Our scale variables, again, are interval and ratio level variables, and nominal, we have categories. Now we'll learn how to create frequency graphs and tables for each of these types of variables. Let's go back to our data view. Okay, so when you have scale data and you're looking for the frequency, we'll run a histogram. So we'll run a histogram for age, IQ, and income. We can also look at how do we graph the frequency of a nominal variable. For the three nominal variables, instead of a histogram we needed continuous data. So we can't run that. Instead, we'll use a bar graph. And so we'll use a bar graph for race, gender, and education. So let's just try one of each as an example. Let's go to Graphs, Chart Builder, and just click OK. And in Chart Builder, we have several options. We have the bar graph here and the histogram here. Remember, a histogram and bar graph, although they appear to be similar, are actually not. And one of the distinguishing features is that we have the spaces in between with our bar graph, as you can see here. Now you'll notice you have the options to enter in an x-axis and a y-axis, but we are only working with the x-axis because we want the SPSS to just give us the frequency. They'll call it count, but that's our frequency graph. So in this lab, we're only creating frequency tables and frequency graphs as well. So in this case, we're running a graph, and this we'll leave this blank, and then the SPSS default is to just do the frequency, which is what we want today. Okay, again, bar graph, we move this over, and again, at any time if you make a mistake, don't try to fix it, just reset it. That's the easiest way to do it. If you try to add or undo things, sometimes it doesn't work as well. So if that happens, just click reset and start over. Okay, so we'll start with bar, move it over, and in this case, because it's a bar graph, we're going to enter in our nominal variable. Let's use gender as an example. And this picture here, I just want to mention, is not necessarily accurate. So what will be accurate is in your output, not here. This is just an image. It doesn't really represent your actual data. And then as you can see, SPSS default is count. Click OK. And here we have our graph. Since we had an equal number of males and females, we had 10 of each. You have males, you have females. Since you labeled them in values, those labels are here. You have gender and you have count. And then the count is what we call frequency. And then you have an equal number of them in this case. All right, so that's how you create a bar graph for nominal data. Let's see how we'll do that for continuous data. So we'll go again to Graphs, Chart Builder, click OK. Again, remember to not try to fix this, but just reset it because the last thing that you did will always be there. Okay, now we want a histogram. Since we have continuous data, we want a histogram. Notice there are no spaces between those bars. That's what makes it a histogram. And in this case, let's include age on the x-axis, leaving our y-axis alone. It says histogram, but when we create our graph, that'll be the frequency. And here is our age. Again, I want to show you that image in Chart Builder that I mentioned before. This image here is not accurate. It's just an image. It doesn't represent your actual data. You won't see what your actual data looks like until you click OK. And this is what our histogram looks like. You have frequency on the y-axis and age on the x-axis. And so now that one's done. Now, one of the things in APA style is that this information that SPSS includes is not supposed to be there. So we'll want to remove that. Double click here. And then it takes a couple of clicks so we can get there. And then it opens up this chart editor and we need to delete that information. So make sure to delete that. I just pressed delete, I clicked on it, pressed delete, now I can go back to my output and now that's removed. We don't want that in our APA style papers. That wouldn't belong there. And the only way that we can take it out is in SPSS. All right, so far we've created a bar graph, for a nominal variable. So bar graph for the nominal variable is here. And then we've created a histogram for our continuous variable. Now we've done one of each. The next thing is to create frequency tables. So let's minimize our output here, go back to our data view, analyze descriptives frequencies. And you might remember from the last time that we unclicked this, well now we want it. Okay, so age, we'll move age over, and gender, we'll move that over as well. Click OK, and we'll get the frequency tables for each of those. And here we go. We have our frequency and our percent. We'll ignore the last two columns and then we'll format it to our own style. This is not APA style, so that's important to remember. Not APA style. We'll need to reformat these, create our own. We'll use this information and then we'll just add to it and add our own columns so that match what we've been doing by hand. All right, this is how you create frequency tables and frequency graphs in SPSS. The next video will show you how to format them in APA style.